This is A Who All Gonna Be There podcast, a place where you get to be an exclusive member of our very entertaining group chat.
To A Who All Gonna Be There podcast, the place where you get to be an exclusive member to our very entertaining group chat. And you have myself, Eric, and my co-host, Tracy. And we are so elated to have you here, Dr. Hisam Goueli.
Yes.
Put some respect on your name. Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's the first time someone's called me that during an interview.
You earned it. You earned it.
Thank you.
You were going to get your credentials here.
Sure. Thank you. It's so funny because I don't tell many people I'm a doctor when I meet them in real life. Wow. So it's interesting to hear the title on a podcast.
Absolutely. Hey, you earned it again. You earned it. So we're happy to call you by what you deserve. Sure.
Oh,
for sure.
You.
So to jump right in, Hisam, again, we're glad you're here, but I wanted to know, why do you think that your amazing personality that we get to see here and that we saw with your interview with Julie and in the DRs didn't necessarily translate to the house guests?
Yeah, the reason is I'm playing a game. And so I'm holding, you don't always show your best parts when you're playing a game. And, just like when you're playing any game with your friends, right? There's maybe a different personality, your game personality that comes out, right? Where you're having a great time, you're kikiing, you're drinking and eating hors d'oeuvres, and then the game starts and you're like, listen, I'm going to kill you at taboo, right? This is just how it is, right?
Yeah.
And so what you see is my game face, my game personality, right? And I was so focused on winning that game. And the minute the game ends, I'm like, let's go, let's have a good time. The game's over, my game is over, right? All of that stuff that you see there is gameplay, and I'm ready to go back to being my normal self, right? And Big Brother is one of the hardest games I've ever played. And so some of that is just trying to figure out, how do you play this game, right? It's not as if you can do a practice run, right? And so I was trying to figure out, how do I maneuver who I am, who are all these people, what skills do I have, what skills don't I have, who am I connected to, who is lying to me? All of those things are constantly going on in your mind as you are also trying to be friendly.
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. Yes.
Well, look, speaking of friendly, I was very curious. The social media world is calling you a villain this season. I'm curious, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, what I will say is that it's always easy to vilify someone, whether you have the facts or not. And the truth is that I played a game that was different than other people's game. And I was really honest and direct about how I felt about things. Now, if that vilifies me or makes me the villain, then so be it. I don't see myself as a villain. Villains never see themselves as villains. And the truth of the matter is the difference between terrorist and freedom fighter is on what side you are on. Right. And I saw myself on the side of what I thought was a really strong moral position or purpose, which was, I want the older people to get very far in this house. I want to demonstrate that gay people belong. I want to demonstrate that brown and black people can work together. That is what I was doing. That was my purpose. Right now, if people vilify me for that, fine. I'm strong and confident enough to believe that I was doing the right thing. From my perspective, people perceive you without just because of the way you look, and they will vilify you because of that. And so to me, it's you have to ask the question is do I believe it?
Yeah.
Right. Is it warranted? Is it valid? Right. And I can definitely see how things that I said and the way that I behaved have qualities of those people who are typically vilified. Yeah, but all my friends don't see me as a villain, right? All my friends,
and that's all that matters.
A great, lovely human being, right? All my patients are what you don't know about me, beforehand is I'm the doctor that people go to when they don't have a solution, right? and they're
I can
looking
see
for
that.
someone who is willing to basically go the extra mile. I am fiercely passionate about patients. I've spent, 2 or 3 hours on a phone call with an insurance company fighting to get them a medication. Right.
Yeah.
And you can imagine like this skill that you see in Big Brother, like translated to getting you your pharmaceuticals would be a really helpful skill. Right. Because
right.
And I've been fighting for patients in the medical system all along. And so, you see that fight also translate to the people that I take care of or that I'm loyal in the game with. Right. Does that make me a villain? That's up to you to decide.
So be it, right?
Look, I look at it like this. I feel like
right?
you're a lovable villain. Okay.
Yes.
There
absolutely.
are things in situations you put yourself in where sometimes you have to put your big boy pants on.
Yeah.
And point some fingers. So,
yeah, and I'm not afraid of confrontation. Right.
And you shouldn't be.
Not
it's Big
afraid
Brother
to play the game. Right.
And that's why we loved you.
yeah. And here's what I'll tell you. There was no one in that game that I was threatened by or that I felt like I didn't want to compete against. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that puts me in a position where I'm like, let's go. Like, I don't care. Right. Like, because winning the money was not the most important thing to me. Like, as you know, like, I'm a doctor, right? Like winning the money was not the important thing to me.
Yeah.
The representation was important to me, right?
Right.
The holding space was important to me, right? Advocating for a greater purpose was important to me, right? Now, does this change if I win the money? Obviously, I'm evicted.
Right.
But that doesn't change what I care about.
Right. So after being evicted and you hear about the Cirie and Jared secret, how do you think your gameplay would have changed had you known that secret prior to coming into the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that lots of people use this different ways, right? Like Izzy uses it to blackmail them. I wouldn't have done that, right? I'm not that type of person, right? I don't believe that you make friends or deep connections by holding things over people. Right. For me, I liked Jared and I liked Cirie. I liked them individually. Right. Knowing that they were together, I would have loved to work with both of them. Right. And had been working with both of them. Right. When you see me turn on Cirie is when I feel like I need to get 6 votes. Right. And I give the same pitch to everybody, which is if you save me, I will be loyal to you. Right. Which I have demonstrated my loyalty. And I was the biggest shield either side. Right, because everyone disliked me. Right. But what I would say is that, like, I loved Cirie and Jared both individually. Knowing that they were together, obviously I would have been like, let's work together. Right.
Thank you.
I wasn't wrong about Jared's connection to Blue, and I could feel it and sense it. And as much as Cirie wants to be like he's not in love, he is really he has deep feelings for her, right?
He got deep
that go beyond the game, right? Right?
Absolutely.
So maybe that will blindside her. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you, the big thing on Twitter in the Twitter world was this infamous veto ceremony. I feel like we were missing something because we actually
heard it all.
Veto, so everybody made that big of a deal for your speech.
Yeah, because you have to understand, like, the part of what I didn't understand when it was happening is I'm a 45-year-old man, and the person I'm giving that speech to is a 24-year-old woman. Right? And what I will say is that there may be things that people attributed to that speech that have nothing to do with that speech, but may have something to do with their personal life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? And what I will say is that I think a lot of things are added on to this speech, right? But the speech is direct, it's clear, and it makes a request.
Yes.
Right. And I don't tell people you have to vote her out. I ask people for their help to vote her out. But then people miss that there's a request. Right. And they're like, well, he's the villain of the show, so he's telling everyone what to do. Right. That's not
they had their own narrative
speech. Right. Yep. What happened in that speech is I asked people for their help to evict Riley. Right. Now, if you have been in an abusive relationship, you're going to see that differently. Right. You're gonna see that speech in a different way. Right. And I wasn't and the thing about it is that I was playing the game strategically and my emotions were sort of detached. Right. But not everyone was playing that way. And to watch someone cry, it affects me too. Right. I watched someone cry. This speech caused her to cry. And I apologize. right?
Yeah.
And I apologize. Like, what's important about, I hope that people remember about that speech is, yes, regardless of how you feel about that speech, I make a mistake. I hurt someone's feelings, and I apologize.
Absolutely.
Right?
You did.
Outside of the game, I try to make amends and do the right thing because what I did was wrong. And my intent was different than my impact. And because I've hurt someone, it is my job to atone for the mistake that I made.
Absolutely.
Right? And I do this like when I'm playing games with my friends. Sometimes the razzing goes a little too far. Sometimes like, you know, the one-upping goes a little too far and you hurt someone's feelings. And what you do is you say, listen, that was wrong, right? Yeah. I'm sorry I took it too far, right?
Yeah.
But at the end, we're friends and we will figure it out and we will, and I won't do it again. And I don't. And I don't.
Go. And so, Hisam, we know that you have to go because you're a busy man, but we have one final.
A busy doctor.
We have one final twofold question. The first big, would you ever play again? And two, what's next for Hisam?
Yeah, I would definitely play the game again. I would make different decisions, obviously.
Yes.
And what's next for me? Well, I hope that this gives me a platform to help older adults reach their true potential and live out their childhood dreams. Right. If my wish out of this whole experience would be, if I am given a platform to basically help older adults basically live life again, that would mean the world to me. It would make all of it worth it. And I hope that someone out there is listening can make that dream come true for me.
We love it.
I love that.
Awesome. Oh. So I wish we had so much more time because this is amazing. Like, that's what we stand for here at A Who Are Gonna Be Their podcast. So again,
this is great. I love you two. Let's hang out again.
Please. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. Nice to meet you.
I'm glad you reached out. Thank you.
Of course. We'll see you again.
Yes.
Thanks,
hopefully
guys.
we'll see each other again.
For sure.
Yes.